It was a cold, moonless night when Clara first heard the whispers. She had just moved into the old house at the edge of town, a Victorian-era relic that had been abandoned for decades. The townsfolk warned her not to buy it. "That house has history," they said, their eyes clouded with unease. But Clara, charmed by the sprawling architecture and the bargain price, dismissed their warnings as local superstition. The first night passed uneventfully, save for the creaks and groans of the ancient wooden floors. But on the second night, as Clara lay in bed, she heard it, a faint, raspy whisper coming from the corner of her room. "Get out." She sat up, her heart racing. She turned on the bedside lamp, flooding the room with warm light. But there was nothing there, just the peeling wallpaper, the heavy antique dresser, and the shadows thrown by her lamp. She laughed nervously, blaming her overactive imagination. Perhaps the stress of the move was getting to her. The whispers returned the next night, louder this time. They seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere all at once, echoing through the empty halls. Clara tried to follow them, clutching a flashlight as she crept down the staircase. The air grew colder with every step, her breath visible in the dim beam of light. At the bottom of the stairs, she saw it, a shadow, darker than the night itself, standing in the doorway of the dining room. It didn't move. It didn't speak. But the whispers grew louder, circling around her like a swarm of invisible insects. Clara froze, her blood turning to ice. The shadow, tall, featureless, and menacing, seemed to ripple, as though it were alive. Summoning all her courage, Clara whispered, "Who's there?" The shadow didn't answer. Instead, it pointed. Its long, jagged arm stretched unnaturally toward the basement door. The whisper stopped abruptly, plunging the house into an oppressive silence. Clara's instinct screamed at her to run, but her feet carried her forward, as though compelled by some unseen force. She opened the basement door, revealing a staircase that descended into pitch blackness. The air was damp and reeked of decay. The whispers resumed, now a chorus of frantic, overlapping voices. Clara hesitated at the top of the steps, but then she saw it, an old, dust-covered journal sitting on the first step, as though waiting for her. She picked it up and flipped through its brittle pages. The handwriting was erratic, the words scrawled in desperate fury. "They won't leave me alone. The shadows whisper my name. They want me to join them. I can't take it anymore. By the time you read this, I'll be gone." The final page was stained with what looked like blood, and beneath the last entry was a single word, carved deep into the page. "Run." The basement door slammed shut behind her, and the whispers erupted into screams. Clara turned to see the shadow standing at the top of the stairs, its form now splitting and multiplying. Dozens of shadowy figures emerged, their twisted shapes filling the narrow staircase. Their whispers merged into one chilling command. "Join us." Clara screamed as the shadows surged toward her. The journal fell from her hands, its pages fluttering like dying moths. The last thing she saw before the darkness consumed her was the word "run" glowing faintly on the basement floor. When the townsfolk came to check on Clara weeks later, they found the house empty. Her belongings were untouched, but there was no trace of her. Only the journal remained, sitting on the basement steps, waiting for its next reader. And the whispers? They never stopped. For more content, like, subscribe our channel.